I had imposter syndrome. I would have went to Cal if I got a walk-on, not a full scholarship. I was in my head a lot of that time, looking at our Cal recruiting board, looking at the Pac-12 quarterbacks, and I was the lowest by far. I couldn't go any lower. So at that point, I decided to work my tail off and be blessed that I actually had this opportunity.
One of the toughest positions in sports is the position of quarterback. You have to manage the play, get the play to your team. You have to figure things out while people are coming after you. You don't get to hit. You got to take the shots. There's a bunch going on. It's a bunch of mental work and physical work, and you have to be precise in your throwing. It can be tough. It can be a pressure cooker, and you've got people watching you all the time and your team counting on you. Well, today we have a young quarterback, a gentleman that I'm super proud of. He's starting quarterback at Cal. His game this year has gone from being a young quarterback to being a more veteran quarterback, and he's executing at a very high level. Coming up, Fernando Mendoza, Cal starting quarterback, talk about the mindset of the position. Great day, everyone. I'm Mike Pawlawski, former world champion quarterback, serial entrepreneur, and award-winning TV producer and host. I've lived a life dedicated to mastery through performance and mindset integration. Each week, I'll bring you the insights, strategies, and stories from some of the world's top performers to help you unlock your greatness. Whether you're an athlete aiming for the top or an executive driving your team to victory, this is where you learn how to train your greatness to become an everyday great. Now let's get after it. Well, joining me now, one of my favorite people going today, and it's Fernando Mendoza. He's the starting quarterback at Cal and a guy that I've been lucky enough to be around on several occasions to talk about football with, to give him insights about football, and to watch him grow as a quarterback, from a young quarterback coming on campus to being the man now, the starter at Cal. And so, Fernando, welcome to the show, brother. Great to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Pawlawski. It's an honor to be on the show with you. I've said this before, but Mr. Pawlawski is one of my mentors, and I can't thank him enough for everything he's done for me.
Well, I appreciate that. What works is the work that you do to do it, right? So you can get all the information you want, but unless you do the work to do it, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about you today. Let's talk about kind of your history through Cal. I want to hear about how you got recruited to Cal to start, how that worked out for you. And kind of the whole process around your recruiting.
My dream was to play a high division of college football, and throughout my high school career, I was very under-recruited. In my opinion, I was very under-recruited. My only offer going to my senior year was Yale. So I committed to Yale. That was the plan. After my senior year, I had a pretty good senior year, but there wasn't much current, there wasn't much momentum going in the recruiting Fernando Mendoza department over in Miami, Florida. So after that, I was all set to go to Yale. And for late signing day, one of the Cal commits for quarterbacks, he flipped to UCLA, opening up a spot. And luckily enough, that OC, Bill Musgrave, who I still talk to today, and he's a great coach, great guy. Since he's more of an old school NFL coach, he was more in tune with recruiting high school kids rather than the transfer portal. Nowadays, nobody would go and look for a high school kid to try to recruit with a week or two left in the recruiting process. They would just grab a high-rated transfer. So I was very fortunate that Coach Musgrave, he looked at the high school board, he saw myself, he came down to Miami, did a workout with me. Once he gave me the Cal offer, I knew it was something I couldn't decline. Great academics, great football, no disrespect to Yale, but the development of Cal quarterbacks and the prestige of the university was something that I'd always dreamed of.
Yeah, I mean, and a fantastic opportunity. It's always funny how life kind of just gives us these opportunities, throws them in our path at different times. And by the way, it were Yaleys that started Cal too, so it kind of keeps it in the family anyway. So, yeah, that's always an interesting thought for you there. So what was it like for you when you first got to Cal? When you showed up on campus, what was your thought process? Young quarterback, right? And you're coming out of, how many years in high school were you a starter?
3.
So you were a 3-year starter, but 2 different offenses, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
So you're coming out of that, you're coming to Cal, and then what was that like for you?
Like we've talked about this, I had imposter syndrome. I would have went to Cal if I got a walk-on, not a full scholarship. So I was in my head a lot of that time, looking at our Cal recruiting board, looking at the Pac-12 quarterbacks recruiting rankings, and I was the lowest by far for Cal recruits and Pac-12 recruits in general. So I knew at that point that I'd only the only place I could go was up. I couldn't go any lower. So at that point, I decided to work my tail off and be blessed that I actually had this opportunity. This was something that, for a lot of kids, sophomore year, junior year, this becomes a reality within the recruiting process. I got my recruiting was in such a short span, it became a reality within 1 or 2 weeks. So whenever I had the opportunity, I was extremely grateful, but I also knew that there was a job to be done, and I knew they recruited me to play football and be one of those developmental guys that can one day end up playing. So that's when it transfers into my next year of playing. When I actually played, I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm playing. So I struggled with imposter syndrome there for a while, not being touted with these big schools and being told by many schools that I'm not a Division I quarterback or a Power 5 quarterback. So that was something that in the beginning of my career I struggled with, but have overcame since then.
Yeah, well, that's great. I think, the thing is, I think a ton of people out there in every walk of life struggle with imposter syndrome, right? We, as a human beings, we don't want to be ostracized from the tribe. We don't want to be kind of out there when we're told we're bigger things than we believe that we are, or that we've proven that we are. We always get this little inner feeling like, whoa, can I do this? When I got there, I had a bad camp. I came out of a wing T offense, which was invented just before fire. And as you know, and I ended up having to learn how to literally turn drop from not just back pedal drop as a quarterback, but turn drop and throw like a modern quarterback. And I had no idea what I was doing. And so by the end of camp, I was fully discouraged, right? Much better athletes than I had in high school. And we played a game. This story is actually in my book, Everyday Great. By the way, if you want to get a copy of the book or get on the list, text GREAT, G-R-E-A-T, to 55444 for everybody at home. But the story in the book is I'm on the sidelines before the first game. And we're playing, and it's UOP, and they don't even have a football program anymore. But all of a sudden, there's a fullback who plays for us, Todd Powers. And back in the day, these fullbacks were big. And Todd was like 6'3", 240, big dude. And he gets the ball, and he comes out of the backfield, and he sweeps to the right. And then the free safety for UOP sees him, and he comes down. He's going to make this hit. And both these dudes hit each other, full speed, full sprint, right in front of me on the sideline. Boom! And there's ear pads coming out of the helmet, and there's, face masks across, and chin straps unbuckled. And it was all right at my feet. And I'm this 6'2", 190-pound freshman quarterback, and I look down at this pile, and I'm like, I can't play here. Like I can't, I don't have the physical tools to play here, right? So we all get this. I think everybody gets imposter syndrome, and when you start new stuff, you have this feeling of, I don't know what I'm doing, and that's that human instinct to kind of guard yourself. But we have to push through that. We have to be able to see the possibilities, right? And so, talk to me what you did. You said you kind of changed your mindset. Talk to me how you changed your mindset to get that going.
Although I could come up with some fake, super complex system on how I changed it, it was relatively simple. We've talked about this. Whenever I got in a nervous situation or one that had high anxiety, whether it was my first freshman scrimmage or if I was in developmental period and all the coaches were watching, or if they threw me in with the second strings or the third strings for a real scrimmage, I always was aware of the situation. I was aware of my emotions, which allowed me to then be confident in myself. And once I was aware, all the anxiety, nervousness, and all those other varied emotions, they all calmed down because I was able to recognize and be aware of them. And that was a big thing, especially playing quarterback. If you don't have a clear mind with your progression, drops, the knowledge of the defense, it's really, really tough to be able to diagnose everything and be able to execute at a high level. So a big thing for me was taking a step back, having a clear head mentally, and then also focusing on doing my job. In high school, a lot of great high school athletes, I would say, carry their team. And that wasn't me. I had a ton of amazing other college football players I played with. But I kind of got off in the sense of, since of high school, you're the star player of high school, you need to carry your scout team offense. You just carry your developmental offense. And the reality is, if you just do your job and execute on what your task is, even as a quarterback, if you're the quarterback, receiver, offensive line, or running back, then it's going to be successful. The moment when you become unsuccessful is when you become worried on who's the left tackle blocking, is the receiver running the right route. And that's when I had less stress and less anxiety on my play because I was able to focus on myself, be aware of those emotions, and play freely while executing at a high level.
For sure. Well said. Amen, brother. It is what you cannot do everybody else's job. As a quarterback, though, oftentimes coaches, they put that on you a little bit, right? Well, you got to make sure he's doing this, and the snap count's got to be this. You got to, and so, but as a quarterback, you've got to kind of be able to back out and say, okay, what's my plan? What am I doing? And how do I execute that plan? I think, again, every walk of life, people get so taken with the big picture of everything going on out there. Like, oh, look at all these things that I have to face. And your brain starts to spin, right? Your amygdala fires and that your stress response kicks up. You're like, there's so much to do. And that's where that imposter syndrome starts to come from. But when you can narrow down that focus to that one moment of, okay, well, I have this right in front of me. What can I do in this moment? It makes it a whole bunch easier to kind of execute in that moment. And I think that learning that lesson is a super important one, especially for young quarterbacks, young people who are just starting to come along. Talk to me, because you said once you recognize the anxiety, once you recognize the stress, you were able to kind of deal with it with a more clear head. Tell me kind of, what does that feel like for you? What does that recognition feel like? What's happening in your head at that moment?
Yeah, and I also want to give credit where credit's due. Mr. Pawlawski also taught me that technique through his amazing knowledge of mindset and all the neurological and psychological ways to improve your game. And the way that I would explain it to young athletes that haven't yet been aware or of in the moment, when they're in the moment of their anxiety, stress, or whatever those emotions are, like we talked about, it's a release of cortisol. And if you ever have a tight back from a long day of work and you crack your back in a way, not that, I'm a huge cracking back guy, but it feels like that. It's a little bit of a release. It's a little bit of a pop for myself. Or it's it's like when you figure out a math problem that's really tough. So that's how it feels to me on the field. For example, today in practice, I had 2 bad plays in a row. And after that, I was feeling I was very frustrated at myself.
Right.
They were completely my fault. And that moment I said, I'm frustrated. I literally just said out loud, I'm frustrated. How can I change this? Right then, it snapped, and then we went on a good drive to end up converting some key third downs there in practice today. So, like you said, it's all about recognizing it, and there's a sense of satisfaction once you do. And like I said, it's like figuring out a tough math problem.
No doubt about it. Once you recognize it, once you can name it, you can say, oh, that's what this is. Then you recognize those bodily functions like you were talking about, release of cortisol, releases of adrenaline, right? Those things going on inside your body. And it goes back to what Dr. Aaliyah Crum from Stanford said, the stress is enhancing mindset, right? When your body's releasing these hormones, it's because it's trying to make you a better performer. So you can run, you can fight, you can do those things better. But just recognizing it in and of itself, naming it, puts you back in your front brain, your prefrontal cortex, and allows you to go, oh, that's what's going on. Now let me reframe and get back to this moment, right? And execute on the single play. You've done that this year. I've watched your games. You've been executing at a very high level. And talk to me what that feels like now. Coming from that point where when you came in, you felt that imposter syndrome. Now, how do you feel about it that you're executing at a high level? And what is it easier for you to kind of put yourself in the moment?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And I loved what you said about how stress is a performance enhancer. And I truly believe that. There's a quote by a great fighter, John Jones, and he said, whenever I have butterflies in my stomach, that's when I feel the most dangerous. Because once you have that stress and you're in that moment that your nervous system's kicking in, that moment, that's when your body has the highest potential. And that's why, personally, I believe I'm a better player in games than in practice. There's more stress in the nervous system. And at that point, now that I've learned how to control it and implore it forwards towards my task and execution, I'm now able to use my nervous system as an advantage to get through progressions quicker, to make these split-second decisions. I work with the mental performance coach here, Dr. Chow, and he's amazing. I recommend that to every student athlete. And one thing that he talks about when he works with the Warriors is 0.3 decision-making. And that really resonated with me as in basketball, you're making all these decisions. Should I pass? Should I shoot? In 0.3 seconds. And that's similar to the football and progression. So when I'm going through my progression or making decisions, do I run the ball? Do I check it down? Do I throw it away? Do I take that guy who's a little cover and try to throw back shoulder? Do I throw him upfield? Those are all split second, or also known as 0.3 second decisions. And that's something with my nervous system enhanced, I believe I can make it at a higher level. And that's something that I have done this year. Last year, I was a little bit too in the momentum of the game, which is why you saw my play go up and down such as a roller coaster. But my play might not get as roller coasty, maybe not as high, but this year it won't get as low. Coach Blesh always preaches it's better to be always good than occasionally great. And that's something that I really took in my play, and like we talked about, taking it one play at a time when enhancing and be able to turn on your nervous system.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100% consistent is for a coach. You know exactly what you have. You know exactly what you can call. You know, Coach Blesh is right. Oh, better to be always good than sometimes great, for sure. And I love what you were talking about with the 0.3, decision making, because from snap to release of the football for a quarterback, like 2.7 seconds is, I think, the average, and that's a long. It's not that long at all. You think about the time it takes for 2.7 seconds to go by, but as a quarterback, you have to get through catching the snap, right? Knowing what you're seeing, catching the snap, taking your drop, whatever that drop may be. Maybe there's an RPO or a play action fake involved with it, or an RPO read, and then you have a progression of 3 to 4 to even 5 receivers sometime for checkdowns. And so to be able to get through all of that in 2.7 seconds is quick. And being able to make those decisions is essential. Now, a huge part of that is recognition, right? So the repetition of it. A lot of people, there's an old saying, and I don't know if you've heard this saying, but there's a saying out there that they say, fake it till you make it. And I don't love that, because I hate the fact that you're thinking about faking anything, right? What you're doing is you're taking reps. Nobody's going to be good the first time they do something, but the reps are what key you in to get better and better every time. How much focus do you put into your reps to make sure that when you do have that opportunity for recognition in a game, it comes like that?
I agree with you. And that's what we talked about a lot off camera, is the art of visualization and being able to create those mental pathways of getting those more reps. As a young quarterback, and for those at home that aren't familiar how practice goes for young quarterbacks are seen as a developmental piece. But since you're trying to get your general, which is your starting quarterback, ready for the game, that player ends up getting most of the reps. So therefore, the reps for the second string, third string, and all the other young quarterbacks is very diluted. So you got to think of creative ways and have great people to let you know into these little secrets that make the great ones great, such as Mr. Pawlawski, in order to get these extra reps. And at first I was like, how am I going to get extra reps? Am I going to call a second practice and do optional 2 days with the guys? And
I don't think you're going to want to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like to think I'm a good leader, but that's a little over the top. And we talked about the art of visualization. I'm making it, although it's a fake rep, and the word faking, I agree with you. I don't like it either, because you're not faking it, you're doing it.
You're doing it.
Although you're doing a visualization rep, we talked about you're having the stadium noise with your AirPods, so you can search up stadium noise. I have my helmet on. I have the ball in my hand. I have my cleats. And what I did during the off season is I would do all those accommodations, and I would go through the play sheet one by one by one by one. And it took me a lot of time. I thought at first it would just be being able to close my eyes and then visualize all the receivers, boom, 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 throwing touchdown there, nice check down, Fernando. But in reality, it wasn't that. I had an extremely tough time in being able to develop that skill of visualization. And I'm still very, very far from where I want to be in visualization. But having all those mental reps in the summer, during fall camp, and for all the new plays that we game plan in the season, I rep them before we rep them in practice. And so I can create those mental pathways of, if it's a new concept that we're putting in, of the first guy's not open, second guy's not open, third guy is open, bang, let me hit that guy. rather than the first time I'm out there on the field with 11 soaring defenders, people coming to rush me, and all these other different external factors that I don't want to worry about in the moment while trying to recognize this new play that just got put in, or this play that I'm constantly struggling with and I want to get over the hump. So creating those mental pathways has been very important to me, and getting those extra reps. As a lot of people say, I don't know if this is a quote I can quote, but I believe, I know we've talked about this before, the more times you do something, the more likely you are to be successful at it. And I think that's what creating the mental pathways and reinforcing those mental pathways through the art of visualization is all about.
100%. Yeah, that is, I mean, that's so essential. I used to do it, and you and I have talked about this. It's hard when you start doing it. Everybody expects to be able to get in there, just see it all. It's going to happen right away. It's not easy. You have to practice visualizing as well. And we discussed this early on. Like, it doesn't come easy. But as you start to learn how to redirect your focus back to what you're doing, because it's just a form of meditation for athletes, right? With meditation, the great meditators might get 6, 7, 8 seconds on pure focus, and then they're off somewhere else and they have to bring it back. And that's the key. That's what we're doing. We're bringing our focus back to the play. But getting those reps and then getting the reps, bringing our focus back, allows us to be calmer under pressure, allows us to get that mental picture so that we have recognition and it pops as soon as we see what's going on. And then it allows us to be more creative too, because when something does go wrong, you know, oh, I can get through this progression. I can do something different. And so it's such a big key. I did it like you. I tried to find ways to simulate game stuff. And so I would do it riding the bike on game day. I'd get on the exercise bike and I'd ride the bike, because I always did like an hour of workout before a game. I was one of those guys who had a high energy guy, right? And so I would either jog or ride a mountain bike. But I got to the point where I was riding just a stationary bike, and I was going through my visualizations with my game plan on game day, just to kind of rehearse those mental reps one more time before I got out there on the field. So it's so effective. It's an easy task. It doesn't hurt your body. It's simple to do. It's simple to actually do. It's not simple to actually be in the meditative state, but it is simple to sit down and just start trying until you get better at it. So great technique. Awesome explanation of it there, Nando. And then talk about it. Your games this year, you're coming into Florida State, you were 70% passer. And how has it helped you in that respect with making those decisions?
It has helped me a significant amount on my decision making. It's helped me on my decision making because when I first got in the game last year, I was a little frantic, a little upbeat, and like you said, similar to yourself, I would run very, very high, which would help me on the leadership side. However, not so much on always the execution part, as I would go a lot with the flow. And through the techniques that we've talked about, such as visualization, which you talked about, it's not easy. There's been many times where I've only been able to get through 1 or 2 plays in a span of 10 minutes or 20 minutes because I keep on going over the same roadblocks and I can't maintain that focus.
Yeah, and by the way, for anybody at home that thinks, what, only 1 or 2, try it. Try it sometime and see. Go through a complex task, you can visualize it and see how that works. It's not always easy.
Yeah, and also with the incorporation of different external factors that they do play a part in my success, not so much, but they also they're also a huge confidence booster that I know when I take a cold shower in the morning, and such as you do, this also replicates yourself when you do your cold plunge. And then whenever I meditate early in the morning before practice, I always try to do those 2 things, meditate and cold shower. And the reason for that is because I can wake up my alert nervous system so I can be more alert, get through the progressions better, and just be more alert on the field in general. Then meditate so my brain is calmer. This year, when my first or second read's not open, I'm able to be like, okay, cool, 3rd, 4th, boom. Rather than first or second read's not open, oh shoot, am I getting blitzed? Is there someone down my throat, like about to sack me? Or is everyone covered before even looking at the 3rd and 4th guy? So that's been a big thing for myself to been able to use that meditation use the cold showers, and use the art of visualization in order to calm down, to make better decisions.
Pretty awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry to cut you off there, but in general, just become more calm in those intense moments when you're rolling out and no one's open, rather than last year trying to make a heroic throw, just walking out of bounds or throwing it away, and able to kind of maintain that normal Fernando level rather than running really high and getting in the moment and getting too excited.
Yeah, and that is such awesome insight, right? Most people, when they work jobs, they feel stressed. They have things that have to get done. They have deadlines and all that. But as a quarterback, like, your deadline is immediate. It's happening right now. You have tons of people watching you. And to be able to use those tools to bring yourself into that high-performing state is sensational. And I've seen you do it on a number of occasions. Your last two games, San Diego State and then Florida State, both teams brought pressure, right? They were going to pressure you. They were going to show you something. And Florida State had some dudes up front, so pressure oftentimes came from just the D-line. They had some dudes now. Talk about, because you made some plays. The one play that stands out in particular in my mind is coming out of your end zone. I think it's 3rd and 17 or 3rd and something, 3rd and forever. And you roll out, and there's pressure back there, but you find a way to kind of get free, and then you complete a nice pass downfield for a first down. Like, those are stressful situations. For most people, they would be like, and their hair would be on fire and they would lose your mind. But you, time after time this year, have maintained composure and made those plays. Talk about your growth. I know we've been talking about all the techniques. What does it feel like? What did it feel like to become the starter? And how does that help you with confidence on the field?
Becoming the starter is something that before would give me, and I would love to sit here and tell you that it didn't matter to me, but it mattered a ton.
Oh, yeah.
And although I had a preset confidence in myself and the notion that no matter if I was a starter, second, third, or beyond, I would always work to try to become the best quarterback that I can possibly be, which is still my mission. But becoming the starter gives your teammates around you, this guy is the starter. Although in summer workouts, spring, they might rally behind you and they might be your guy, your teammates now know that their vision of the starter is confirmed by the coaches or the experts on the team. So that gives this, becoming the starter gives a huge leadership boost, as now everyone in the program is behind you. It gives a huge morale boost and confidence boost in yourself as you've been declared the best guy to play. And overall, I would say that it also can give you a little bit of confidence, a little bit of swagger, knowing that, hey, I've been able to outdo competition in the past 2 years, and I've been able to rise to the top in midst of competition, which has never been easy because we've had a great competition here at Cal. And so those three things are the ones that really resonate with me. And becoming the starter has elevated my play, but I always try to be the same Fernando Mendoza that tries to get better every day.
That's right. Always trying to improve. But it's the reps, right? It's the confidence that comes with it. And when they say, hey, you're the starter, now it confirms, right? It's confirmation bias. Yes, I'm good enough. Yes, I've been doing this. Yes, I thought that. Because every quarterback has to believe they're the starter. Even when you're the backup, you have to believe I should be the starter, right? I should be the guy. Because that's what the position demands. And so, but once you get that, it makes it so much easier to play free at that position. And it's so, I just love your insights, that you've given us here today. So you guys started out 3-0. You lose a tough one at Florida State, right? Talk to me about that, and then give me your vision going forward. What's this team have to do? What are you going to do? What's the plan?
Here at Cal, we never want to settle for any type of mediocrity. And not saying that mediocrity is what's happened so far, because we're 3-1. We have a winning record in our first quarter of the season. Our season is broken up into fours, where we have 4 games, bye week, 4 games, bye week, 4 games, bowl bye week-ish, college football playoff bye week-ish, 2 weeks or something in that sense. So as an offense, we know, and as a team, we know we're going to face adversity. And we faced that at Florida State. A tough one, really close, but there's no excuses, and we know we need to go past that. However, the loss at Florida State put a huge fire under us, and honestly made us address some more issues than needed. It let us do a little bit more of a deep dive on ourselves. What are the true issues? What can we fix today? What can we fix throughout the bye week? And so I actually believe that the fire that the FSU game lit under us is going to help us perform better throughout the entirety of the season, allow us to prepare better for Miami, prepare better for all the other teams going forward, and executing better and realizing what's at stake. So I think that the vision for the season is execute each quarter at our best. And it's always a little cheesy to say, like, do your best, but every game from now on, they're all winnable. Every game, every team that we play is very beatable, and we just got to take it 1-0 at a time. And if we take every single team 1-0 at a time, then we'll mess around and sit and look back and be like, wow, we're 8-1, or wow, we're 9-2, or 10-2, or 10-1, or whatever the record is. But the big thing is having that fire lit under us, making us be more present in the moment. And instead of, if we were to beat Florida State, look forward and counting off wins, or counting off, hey, like, we got this team. This team's going to be a little bit of a struggle, taking it really week by week in order to execute at a high level. So yeah, we're all very optimistic, and there's very high morale here at the program.
And I love that. That gets back, again, talking in my book, right? Everyday Great, the playbook for winning at everything. We had my coach at Cal was a man by the name of Bruce Snyder, and he put in 1 year a one at a time motto. Like, that was our motto, one at a time. And so all you could do is focus on this play, this moment, this second, right, to do that. And it gets back to what we talked about in the beginning, right? That imposter syndrome. We see this really big picture of everything going on around us, and we're like, oh, we feel so small in this big picture, and I'm not worthy. But when we focus down to that one play, that one moment where I know I can handle this, I can deal with what's in front of me.
Yeah.
And we start doing that, and then we start stacking all of those up, right? That's where you look back now, and you can put all the pieces together and go, oh, we had a pretty damn good season. Like, that was really good because we were focusing on this play, this moment, and it's essential. And I think it's fantastic to have that, and I love the fact that we've come kind of full circle in this conversation, brother. I love having you on here. I love talking football with you. One of my favorite dudes going. I love Cal quarterbacks, obviously, but you are my dude, so I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. I look forward to all kinds of success for you coming up this season. I want to see a lot more wins, one play at a time.
One play at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. Everything one at a time. I'm truly honored to be one of your guys. Thank you so much again for everything. Look forward to a lot more wins this season. Can't wait to see what's in future.
Yeah, and for everybody at home, again, you can text GREAT to 55444. You'll get all the inside information. I'll get you. It's my pregame checklist for mental toughness. So text GREAT to 55444. Get on the list. The book is coming out October 10th. So it's going to be out soon. The Kindle version, if you're a Kindle reader, you can go on Amazon right now. You can get it on Kindle. But October 10th, the paperback will be out. So I'd love to have all of the people out there looking for some kind of mindset improvement, looking to up your game. Text GREAT to 55444. Nando, awesome to have you on. For everybody else, remember, live every day great. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.